Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
Yo, what is up, Headliner Nation? It's your boy Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners, and I've got my wide receiver and tight end rankings for here in Week 3 of the NFL season. Before we get started into all that, though, I just want to remind everyone, if you're looking for a way to help support the channel and get a little bit of extra from us, there is a join button right down below this video next to subscribe. If you click on that for $4.99 a month, you are going to get some sweet extra content by becoming a member of our Holding Chubb group here on YouTube. That is right. If you join Holding Chubb and become a member here on YouTube, you're going to get an extra Sunday morning live show where we do a giveaway every single Sunday for our members only. If Saturday nights get too crazy for you and your question doesn't get answered, Sunday mornings are much better for you to try and get your question answered. Consider joining down below. You get awesome badges and emojis that you can use in the chat or the comments, and you get extra content all year long. So if you're willing and able, click that join button and become a member here on YouTube today. We are going to jump into our rankings now, though, and I got a little bit of a surprise for you, Headliner Nation. We're going with our top 20 tight ends because, quite honestly, are there really 20 relevant tight ends every single week? Not really, but we're still going to talk about 20 tight ends. But for my wide receivers, you know that our point threshold is 10 fantasy points in half PPR formats. So for instance, if I tell you to start a wide receiver and he gets 10 half PPR fantasy points, that's considered a hit. If I tell you to start him and he falls below it, that's considered a miss. Well, I went back and I looked through the first couple of weeks of this season, and about 45 wide receivers average 10 or more fantasy points per game. So for me to do my top 30 wide receivers, no, I'm going the extra mile for you, Headliner Nation. Get ready, because we are going to talk about my top 50 wide receivers every week starting this week. So hit that like button if you appreciate that. Headliner Nation, let me know down in the comments if you're feeling that. If it's fire, drop some swag rich emotes down there in the chat for me. Let's go ahead and jump into it right now. We're going to talk about my top 50 wide receivers first. Number 1 this week, Mr. Tyreek Hill. I'm seeing a bounce back performance against the Los Angeles Chargers coming. Cooper Kupp at number 2 against Tampa Bay, working out of the slot. Tampa Bay's secondary has been hit a little bit by injuries to begin the season, but that connection that he has with Matthew Stafford right now is absolutely incredible. Davante Adams at number 3 going up against San Francisco. I almost put him a couple of spots back, but it's Davante Adams. San Francisco probably going to be a little bit of a shootout, tough game on the road. Maybe the ceiling is lacking a little bit this week, but we got to go with Adams. Chris Godwin at number 4, possibly no Antonio Brown this week, and Jalen Ramsey's going to be on Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's going to be in for a big week. Justin Jefferson at number 5 against Seattle. I'm feeling that Justin Jefferson breakout for the season coming. Not a bad start to the season by any means, but it's just not quite what we got last year. Let's see it come this week. Calvin Ridley at number 6 against the Giants. I told you in our start-sit video, the volume is there. We're just waiting on the touchdowns and the big plays to happen, and that is going to happen. And number 7, DeAndre Hopkins going up against Jacksonville. The only reason I have him this low, I'm just worried about them getting a huge lead on Jacksonville and not throwing it nearly as much as maybe what we might see from some of the guys ahead of him. But he's still a smash start every single week. Stephon Diggs at number 8 going up against Washington. Could end up being a tough matchup, but this team, the Bills, they throw it more than anybody else, really. I mean, they're always slinging it all over the place, so Stephon Diggs is a great start. A.J. Brown could have had a huge week last week. He comes in at number 9 for me. Some of those drops that we saw from last week, they're not going to carry over. Adam Thielen at number 10 going up against Seattle. Adam Thielen, it's really about touchdowns. If he's getting the touchdowns, he's a high-end wide receiver 1. Expect him to find the end zone again this week. Some of that volume, though, because I have Justin Jefferson so much higher, Thielen does fall for me a little bit. Number 11, Amari Cooper. We're keeping an eye on Amari Cooper, who is banged up, but that's all right. Keep an eye on him. See what happens. Deebo Samuel at number 12 going up against Green Bay. Green Bay got thrashed by a guy that Detroit moves around quite a bit, and Quintez Cephas Deebo Samuel, the same thing with the 49ers. They like to move him around a little bit, get him into the slot, outside, do some different things with him. Expect Deebo Samuel to have a big week this week. Keenan Allen at number 13 going up against Kansas City. Keenan Allen, we talked about it last week. Or in the start-sit video, we're seeing a little bit of change in the dynamic with him and Mike Williams. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams is not just the streaking guy that he used to be. He's a lot different, which kind of hurts Keenan Allen a little bit, but not that much. It just kind of caps that ceiling that we see. CeeDee Lamb at number 14 going up against Philadelphia. Again, it kind of depends on me for Amari Cooper. If Amari Cooper ends up missing, then we see CeeDee Lamb bounce up the top here. Tyler Lockett at number 15. The dude is off to just a tremendous start this season. Number 15, again, I'm just leaving some room for some of that inconsistency that we've seen in the past. Julio Jones at number 16. Great week for him last week. Had him as a start, but I talked about it in the video. I was worried about the upside because if they got back to the run game, what would that mean for the team? They got back to the run game, but A.J. Brown having a tough week. Julio Jones kind of took over at that point. I expect them to reverse roles a little bit this week. Terry McLaurin at number 17 going up against Buffalo. We're not sitting him in tough matchups. He showed last week, even going up against Bradbury and the Giants, that he can ball out at any time. Sterling Shepard at number 18 against Atlanta. He's the wide receiver 1 in this offense, and the dude is putting up some fantastic numbers. DK Metcalf at 19 going up against Minnesota. I'm just leaving some room. Again, we're seeing way more Tyler Lockett right now. This is definitely a start that could give him a lot of points. I'm just kind of bringing him down because we have not seen that ceiling for him yet this season. Is he going to find it at some point in time? I hope he does. But I also expect Seattle to try and run Chris Carson maybe a little bit more this week than what we've seen so far. Mike Evans at number 20, a little bit lower just because he's going to be getting Jalen Ramsey. We'll keep an eye on the Antonio Brown situation. Mike Williams at number 21 going up against Kansas City. Again, they're doing some different things with him and Keenan Allen. I think 21 is really kind of looking at his floor. His ceiling's a little bit higher, but I want to continue to see this done with Mike Williams on a consistent basis, and we've only seen it for 2 weeks now. DJ Moore at number 22 going up against Houston. My only worry for DJ Moore this week is just Houston with David Mills just doesn't put up the fight that we've seen with Taylor the first couple of weeks, and because of that, Carolina gets out to a big lead, and maybe they don't throw it as much. Kenny Golladay at number 23, we've got him as a start. It gets it against Atlanta. Definitely a team where Kenny Golladay could go off. We'll see if that ends up happening. Him and Danny Dimes, they got to get on the same page, though. Marvin Jones Jr. at number 24 is the wide receiver 1 on Jacksonville, but we have seen Trevor Lawrence be wildly inconsistent the first couple of weeks. Arizona is probably going to be much of the same. Allen Robinson at number 25 going up against Cleveland. Cleveland brings a tough pass rush. We've got a youngster in Justin Fields. It's going to be a tough matchup at Cleveland for his very first start. That's why I've got Allen Robinson a little bit lower for me. Marquise Brown at number 26 going up against Detroit. Marquise Brown. Definitely since last season, toward the end of last season, it feels like right after I put out that trade video last year telling you to go get Marquise Brown, he's been great ever since. I'm not going to take any credit for it, but I feel like maybe I gave him some extra juju to go out there and get it. So Marquise Brown going at number 26 right here. My only concern is going up against Detroit, big lead. They don't need to pass as much. Speaking of Juju Smith-Schuster at number 27 going up against Cincinnati. A lot's going to depend on Deontay Johnson, who's just a couple of spots back from him. Cortland Sutton at number 28 going up against the Jets. Same thing. If they get out in front of the Jets early, a lot of Melvin Gordon, a lot of Javonte Williams not throwing it as much as they need to. Deontay Johnson, just mentioned it. He's also dealing with a little bit of an injury right now. Is he going to be ready to go versus Cincinnati? As of this recording, he's still kind of in that questionable stage. Robert Woods at number 30. Now, this seems probably really low for Robert Woods. The problem is going up against Tampa, is Tom Brady going to have time to get rid of the ball on a consistent basis? Now, I still have him as a start, but because it is Tampa and because Cooper Kupp has been his go-to guy, and because I think Tyler Higbee is going to be a little bit more involved this week, I've got him a little bit lower. He is still a start for me. I still expect a decent floor. It's just the ceiling that has been lacking so far. At number 31, Jamar Chase. I've got all three of the Cincinnati wide receivers kind of in this area. Joe Burrow was not that great last week. They are going to be throwing it, but unless one, kind of with the Cincinnati wide receivers, you're going to see like one guy up here and then maybe 2 guys right here, or they're going to switch back and forth. So Ja'Marr Chase, all of them have those ceilings. Where am I ranking them? I'm ranking them at their floors right now. Brandin Cooks at number 32. Oh, man. Brandin Cooks at number 3. I'm talking so fast and swallowing air, I'm getting the hiccups. Brandin Cooks at number 32 going up against Carolina. Is Davis Mills going to be able to get him the ball on a consistent basis? Chase Claypool at 33. He's going to go a lot higher if Deontay Johnson misses. Devonta Smith at number 34. I definitely think we're going over the 50 receiving yards this week because we're going to be throwing it a lot. I just don't know if we're going to get past Trayvon Diggs kind of in the end zone, red zone type area and score that touchdown. That's why I've got him lower. T. Higgins at number 35. Again, I'm ranking all these guys at their floors. They're going to get volume, but who's going to score the touchdown? Michael Pittman at number 36 going up against Tennessee, the team that gives up the most points to fantasy wide receivers in the league. Michael Pittman, the wide receiver 1 on that team. Kind of. Depends on where you think of Zach Pascal having that great breakout game last week. Rondale Moore at number 37 going up against Jacksonville. Kind of the same thing I said about DeAndre Hopkins. If we get up big, are they going to throw it as much as they have to begin the season? So I'm kind of ranking him at his floor this week as well. Zach Pascal, just talked about him. 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Looking for him to score this week. But I do think some of that volume goes and moves on over to Michael Pittman. And then going up against Tennessee, I do think they try to get Jonathan Taylor more involved this week. Robbie Anderson at number 39. I've talked about it a lot with Carolina. Right now, he is the number 2. But where's the ceiling at with him? Where's the floor? The floor is very, very low, and the ceiling's very, very high. But if he's only getting 3 targets a week, the ceiling is going to be really difficult to reach. The ceiling is high, but if he's not getting targets, he's just going to be grasping at it. It's not going to happen. Tyler Boyd at number 40. I don't like this matchup nearly as much as I did last week. Last week, if you remember correctly, I had him ranked the highest of all of the Cincinnati wide receivers because I liked him in the slot. He went out and led the team in receiving. I don't expect that to happen again this week. Cole Beasley at number 41 going up against Washington. The targets are there, but the big plays are missing, okay? Those are going to Stephon Diggs right now. The big plays, the touchdowns are missing. We got to get that for his ceiling to climb. Jacoby Myers at number 42 going up against New Orleans. He is getting the looks on that team. He is getting the targets. But this is also a team that's staying very, very balanced. And going up against New Orleans, who really limits the big plays, I expect the tight ends to get more involved this week. OBJ at number 43 for me. As of right now, okay, note, a change to the start and sit video. As of right now, OBJ is scheduled to practice all week and potentially play on Sunday. If OBJ plays this week, he will transition into a start for me, and Donovan Peoples-Jones will go to a sit, all right? OBJ becomes a start, DPJ becomes a sit. So keep an eye on that, and we'll see what happens throughout the week. Laviska Shenault at number 44. He's getting a decent amount of targets, but they're not going anywhere. And that's the problem. Urban Meyer has got to find a way to get Laviska Shenault Jr. into the open field a little bit more because the targets that he's giving him right now are not quality targets. Adam Humphries is a start for me this week at number 45, going up against Buffalo. I think we see a lot of quick passes, a lot of Taylor Heinicke getting the ball out as fast as he can, and Adam Humphries helps with that. Quintez Cephus going up against Baltimore. This is going to be a much more difficult matchup than last week going up against Green Bay, but he's been Jared Goff's go-to guy so far this season. Henry Ruggs III at number 47. Yeah, we know that he's got a decent ceiling, but he's not hitting that ceiling enough for me to have him any higher. Van Jefferson at number 48. He's only getting a few looks a game, but those looks are downfield, and it's trying to catch that defense off guard. And if they do catch him off guard, Van Jefferson has a great chance to score every time. So the floor is really low for him, but he's got a decent ceiling. Hunter Renfrow at number 49 going up against Miami. This week, I like him as a start, especially for those of you in PPR leagues. Jalen Reagor at number 50. I think going up against Dallas, again, kind of talked about it with Devontae Smith already. I think these guys definitely have an opportunity this week going up against Dallas. Jalen Reagor should have a little bit of an easier matchup, but Jalen Hurts running all over the place limits some of the wide receivers. Maybe we see some Dallas Goedert this week. I really like him. There are my top 50 wide receivers. Do not forget, if you didn't get enough depth in this video, this is a quick video. We go through these fast. Go back to the start and sit video to hear more in-depth information. Now, let's jump over to tight end and talk about my top 20 tight ends, starting with Darren Waller going up against Miami this week. Waller and Kelsey, both of these, boom, boom, bang, at the top. Knock it out. Rob Gronkowski at number 3. If there is no Antonio Brown this week, expect a lot more Rob Gronkowski. And don't forget, Cole Kmet in week 1 going up against the LA Rams. He was left wide open because the Rams were so focused on getting to the quarterback and protecting the outsides that it was leaving Kmet kind of open over the middle of the field. You do that with Gronkowski, you're going to get burnt. TJ Hawkinson off to a terrific start. Baltimore has allowed the most fantasy points and receiving yards to tight ends in the league so far. Yes, it was Waller and Kelsey, but TJ Hawkinson is starting to work his way up into that 2 tier. Mark Andrews going up against Detroit. This is a must-see matchup for me. I talked about in the start-sit video. Both of these guys could have really good games. Mark Andrews did bounce back last week. Not the best, but not that bad either. George Kittle going up against Green Bay. Definitely think they're utilizing Kittle quite a bit. And Kyle Pitts, talked about him. Told you all not to panic, right? He bounced back and had a better week last week. Noah Fant at number 8 going up against the Jets. He's kind of that number 2 guy right behind Sutton for me right now. Tyler Higbee at number 9 against Tampa Bay. The great thing about Tyler Higbee is he's playing like 95% of his snaps. He's always out there. Always being on the field leads to more opportunities. The more opportunities, the better chance to score some points. Dallas Goedert, no Zach Ertz this week. That's going to do good for Goddard. Logan Thomas at number 11 going up against Buffalo. Expect Henneke to be looking his way quite a bit, but his value for me is based on touchdowns right now. Robert, Big Bobby Tonyan coming in at number 12 going up against San Francisco. San Francisco is really, really good on the outside, but they've allowed a few points to the tight ends this year. Bob Tonyan, hopefully he can get into the end zone this week. Dan Arnold at number 13 for me was a big star. I have never, ever, ever started Dan Arnold. If you've watched the show for a while, you've heard me say many of times, Dan Arnold is still not a thing. This week against Houston on Thursday Night Football, he's a thing. He's at number 13 for me. Austin Hooper at number 14. Chicago does not do that good in the slot, and Austin Hooper is one of the highest used tight ends out of the slot right now. Expect him to be out there quite a bit this week. Cole Kmet at number 15 going up against Cleveland. I like Justin Fields to try and utilize Kmet quite a bit. I've got Henry and Jonnu Smith back-to-back here going up against New Orleans. Just talked about it with the wide receivers. The New Orleans, right here, they're not giving up anything behind them, right? You've seen this before. Baseball and football, it means don't give up anything behind you. Back up. We're not letting the ball get over our head. They don't do that. They don't give up the big plays. Expect Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith to be a big part of that this week. Jared Cook at number 18 going up against Kansas City. My issue with Cook is if we've got 30-some-odd targets going to Eckler, Allen, and Williams, it doesn't leave that much left over for Jared Cook. I don't mind Jared Cook. I just don't love it. At number 19, Adam Troutman going up against New England. He's still kind of the tight end right now that's being utilized more and seeing more snaps. And then at number 20, Gerald Everett going up against Minnesota. Again, with Gerald Everett, the thing is that he's being looked at towards the red zone, and that's about it. If they're scoring from 40 or 50 yards out, he's not getting that opportunity. If they're getting closer, he's getting that opportunity. Now, just to note as well, Dalton Schultz, right? Okay, we've got Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin, both from Dallas, okay? A lot depends on Amari Cooper for me. If Amari Cooper is out, both of these guys kind of shoot up for me. But right now, with the way they're utilizing Tony Pollard, kind of getting back to running the football a little bit, it's hard to trust either of these guys on a weekly basis. But if Cooper's out, then they're going to have to be utilized. Schultz would be over Jarwin for me to begin with, and we can talk about that later on if we find out that Cooper is going to be out. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. My top 50 wide receivers, my top 20 tight ends. If you love the content and if you appreciate me going 20 more wide receivers deep, hit the like button for me, ladies and gentlemen. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about the rankings? Be respectful about it. Do you have a question? Let me know, but don't forget, go back to the start sit video. And as always, make sure you subscribe if you are new here to the Fantasy Headliners. Everybody stay safe and healthy. Let's get ready for a great week 3. I'll see you all in the live stream on Saturday. Peace out. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
I'm a headliner.